got a really dope show set up for you today. Some really interesting stuff going on in the music world in terms of all these sell-offs and stuff that's been going on. We did an episode um, maybe a few months ago where we were um, talking about, I think, what was it that Slate had bought.
Yep.
Slate had bought out. Slate Digital got bought out by a company called Audio Tonics, and so that was very interesting. And then that triggered a whole like line of like all of these companies that we were seeing. I think it was Native Instruments and all of that. They had sold off or merged with some other companies, but now we're figuring out that it was really more of more than an acquisition as it was a buyout that they kind of had going on. So, and then a lot of other companies have been selling off over the last few years, like your boys over at Sweetwater sold off. Um,
Yep.
who else sold off?
Guitar Center years ago, but they've changed hands at least
Yeah,
3 times that I know of.
Guitar Center is just like the it's always on sale. Like somebody else will own it tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just that's just how that works or whatever. Uh, but um, but man, so it's like these companies, man, it's funny though, but you're seeing so much of this happening over the course of the last year. It's just like it's just enough to raise your eyebrows. And so we've been hearing some things in the wind about Waves, selling off, trying to sell off. They're not sold, so don't take that as the gospel. But that there may be a sneaking suspicion that they're trying to sell their company, and then the big surprising one of all was Avid or Avid. Avid is thinking about they've been kind of putting some stuff in the wind about that. So we're going to kind of explore all of that today on today's show, and it's going to be really really cool to kind of tap into this topic, man. But how you feeling about it, bro?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. It's an interesting topic because it comes up very often, and me having been in the retail space, I've seen it numerous times. Like I mentioned, Guitar Center.
Yeah,
I can. It's been at least 20 years that people been saying, "Oh, Guitar Center gonna close. They're gonna close. They're gonna close,"
right.
and it's like they're still here. So some of this stuff is like it's just what happens in the business world.
Yeah,
But it is getting closer to us now. Some of the stuff we're starting to see is definitely, like you said, some raise your eyebrow
right.
kind of things, because I mean, you didn't even mention it, but like Spotify, like there's been some
Oh yeah,
interesting stuff going on behind the scenes with Spotify and some of the companies that they've been acquiring, which
yeah.
is
No,
also
they've been
interesting.
acquiring some stuff, man. Like Spotify has been making a ton of acquisitions. I think we got it on the list to do a pod just on that, where we really dig into what's going on with Spotify, because they are um they are making like multi-$100 million acquisitions, and they're doing that on the regular. So it's like it's kind of crazy to kind of think about, but it really raises the eyebrow a whole lot, because you're trying to figure out. So I got this video that a friend of mine, he's actually on the stream today, my guy, Marcus Murray. He sent this video to me the other day, and I was like, yo, like it was this guy by the name of Ben Jordan, pretty popular YouTuber. And he did this video talking about all of these acquisitions that's going on, and then even showcased a lot of stuff that I didn't even know was going on behind the scenes. And so it kind of forced me to kind of, raise my eyebrow at it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this video up that he sent me, and then we're going to kind of react to it, and kind of share our thoughts on it, and kind of expose this to you guys to see how much of this that y'all actually knew was going on, because I had no clue that a lot of this stuff was going on in the background. So I'm going to start here at this spot here. We picked out a couple of spots that we're going to really kind of highlight a few things, but let's just kind of give some context. Again, his name is Ben Jordan, YouTuber, 229,000 subscribers. This dude is killing the game. But this is a really interesting video. I want you guys to check this out. So let's dig in.
So chapters to this saga, I guess we'll start with the big one, Native Instruments and Isotope and Plugin Alliance and Brainworks being sold to a private equity group and becoming Soundwide. It was just announced that InMusic has bought Moog. Avid has been exploring being sold. ImageLine, the makers of FL Studio, have bought UVI and Melda Productions. Sequential, or previously Dave Smith Instruments, was bought by Focusrite. The controlling stake of Sweetwater was sold to a private equity firm. Epic Games bought Bandcamp. Waves.
Wait. So my man said that, now how many of y'all knew that Moog or Moog, you know, there's always a debate about how that's pronounced, was bought out by InMusic. Did you know that, Dale?
Oh yeah, I saw that when it happened. Saw that, and come on, I got news feeds for some of this stuff, so I
Come on.
definitely keep tabs
Yeah.
on it.
Bro, like it tripped
See
me
what's
out. I
happening.
had no clue that Moog or Moog, again, they call it whatever they call it.
Matter of fact, I remember because you were doing a shoot,
Yeah.
and I text you because you were in a
That's right.
shoot, and I text you about it, like, yo.
Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, they sold over to InMusic, and InMusic is definitely like one of those like hyper you know, companies where they really jump in and they buy a lot of companies because they own Akai, they own Audio, they own dang, who else do they own?
Is it?
They own,
Wait a minute. Is InMusic is not the same Behringer company, is it?
no,
What's that? That's
no,
Music Guru.
that's dang it, I wouldn't, if you hadn't asked me, I would have known it. They got a whole collective that they've kind of come up with. But InMusic owns Audio and Alesis. They own Akai. They own Headrush, which is like an amp company. They own like a ton of music-based brands. That's kind of
Newmark.
really
They
cool.
got Newmark.
Newmark, yeah, they got a whole bunch of the big companies, a lot of the big, especially MIDI controller companies and such. They are owned by InMusic brands. So that Akai MIDI controller that you own, and you think you're getting something different by getting the Audio, it's all the same company. Like they're all making the same stuff, and all owned by the same conglomerate, so to speak. So, but they just, so to their, what they just did, they just added Moog to the list of their companies that they own. So that's kind of interesting that they did. So I'm gonna bag it up just a hair to make sure we got all of these ones that he's gonna talk
Saga,
about.
I guess we'll start with the big one, Native Instruments and Isotope and Plugin Alliance and Brainworks being sold to a private equity group and becoming Soundwide. It was just announced that InMusic has bought Moog. Avid has been exploring being sold. ImageLine, the makers of FL Studio, have bought UVI and Melda Productions. Sequential, or previously Dave Smith.
So ImageLine is FL Studio. That's the same company that does FL Studio. So ImageLine just bought they just bought UVI. That's kind of crazy. Gotta throw that in there. That's kind of crazy that they bought UVI is owned by ImageLine, the same people who make Fruity Loops, FL Studio. Some of y'all know it as that. So that's kind of nuts. So that's kind of nuts to think about. I'm interested to see what that partnership is going to look like. You know what I mean? With UVI out here, owned by Fruity Loops, how they're going to integrate that into the whole setup. That's going to be interesting to see.
Well, what's funny though, if you think about it, Falcon is UVI, and that used to be a part of Pro Tools bundle.
Yep.
But it's no longer been a part of it since the beginning of this year. And so this has probably been going on behind the scenes for a while, if you think about that.
That's interesting. That's interesting because I remember when it disappeared because we have a version of Loop Elements that works for Falcon, and I had to remove it from the store because like I had a bunch of Pro Tools users that was like, yo, like we can't use Falcon anymore. It's not free anymore. It's not included with Avid. Pro Tools is not or Avid. I always say Avid. Avid's bundle. So that's kind of interesting to think about, man. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then when I was watching this video, something that was really, really dope that popped up. I didn't know that ImageLine was as big as they are. I knew, because Fruity Loops has always been, FL Studio, all of that has been, which is huge in the hip hop market and all of those things, trap market and other markets. I just didn't realize they were killing the game as hard as they are. I knew they were killing it because they were kind of, you know, tapping in with a lot of the trap producers and all of that. But I didn't realize that they were as big as they are. So it's really, really interesting to see how this is going to all play out. But let's keep moving.
Bought by Focusrite, the controlling stake of Sweetwater was sold to a private equity firm. Epic Games bought Bandcamp. Waves, in my subjective opinion, is trying to be acquired. In this talking head, we'll talk about some other stuff, and to spice things up, I'll even do some Jim Cramer-style predictions, except with hair. For the best experience, you're going to want to pop some Adderall and watch this at double speed. Come on, let's dig in. So real quick history here, and in full transparency, way back in 2006, I was endorsed by Native Instruments as a recording artist when they were trying to push out Core. If anybody remembers Core, it wasn't the most reliable or liked piece of gear, and let's just say that my feedback wasn't well received. But obviously, there's no denying that Native Instruments is an extremely important centerpiece that helped define how music technology works today. And for a long time, nearly everything they brought to market was an incredible innovation. But their original concept alone was pretty innovative at the time because it was creating music software that could run in a home studio on a personal computer. And the late 90s tech boom allowed them to get the venture capital investments to make that happen. But allegedly, about a decade later, they either made the mistake of underpaying talent or couldn't pay their talent what they were worth, and competitors poached some of the developers behind the innovation. But from a business perspective, that's kind of okay, because it turns out that there's a lot more money to be made from DJ tools and more generalized things than techie stuff like Reactor and Absinthe. So they took a stab at growing in an entirely different way, and it worked out well enough for them to get bought by a private equity group, EMH Partners, for $50 million in 2017.
So 2017, this is the first time that Native Instruments changes hands and gets bought by a company in 2017 and sold for $50 million. Wow. That's kind of crazy. Like, to think that, you know what I mean, you know, that Native Instruments has been around for a minute. So they were able to sell their company in 2017. This is before the latest acquisition that they've been put into now. And now they were acquired first out of being a private company by another private company for $50 million in 2017. That's kind of wild. Oh, play. It's not playing. What did I do? Oh, I clicked in the wrong place. Sorry.
They hire some outside management from the tech world and then fire them not long after. And in 1 year, Native Instruments would fire over 200 employees. In 2020, EMH injects some more money and becomes the majority owner of Native Instruments, while the company launches a subscription service with a free bundle as a hook. What else happened in 2020? Oh, right, everybody stayed indoors and looked for new hobbies to take up. Take note of this phenomenon, because most of the bad things happening in the music creation microeconomy can be partially, if not entirely in some cases, attributed to this bubble. As we will soon explore, the pandemic led to overvaluation that is now being corrected, and with some software companies, it probably could have been avoided to some extent. It's a bit difficult and obviously inaccurate to armchair appraise a company retroactively, so this is entirely my opinion, but I would say that at the end of 2020, after the skyrocketing growth the pandemic had caused, Native Instruments was worth about $50 million on paper. But things were really troubling because they experienced a 20% increase in sales, yet their earnings carried forward was almost negative 4 million euros. So a lot of expenses are gutted, and on paper, the company is reframed. Here we have one of the biggest and most respected and iconic brands in pro audio, and we just experienced 20% growth. And we expect these new and prospective customers to give us their credit card information and start paying us a hefty monthly fee for our intellectual property. And that's not all. We also own sounds.com, which is going to be absolutely huge and wipe out Splice and pretty much interrupt the entire loop and sample industry. So
which it didn't. Like, who's using sounds.com? Like, who's actually, by show of hands in the comments, like, who's actually doing that? Like, I think I've been on sounds.com maybe twice. Splice is still kind of killing the game as it relates to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, like, to see. But I think I see what's happening. Like, so where he's going with this is that, like, basically 2020 happened, the pandemic happened, they were rocking and rolling, and they had this big influx of stuff because everybody was at home and everybody was learning how to produce. Everybody was picking up new, hobbies. Everybody was getting into producing, getting into mixing, getting into all of that. And Native Instruments was at the forefront of that boom that we experienced at the beginning of 2020. And so because everybody was there, so they used that and that 20% increase of customers to come in on top of what they did with Splice to try to pad what they were doing to generate some more income in terms of another
but then they had a negative though. Like, then they
Yeah.
was in the red. So
Yeah. Well,
after all of that, they were still not really profitable.
they still weren't profitable, and so they still didn't turn a profit. And so they're utilizing this influx of everything that came in 2020 to try to pad the numbers a little bit and make it seem like we're to like balloon their valuation, so to speak. You know what I mean? I think that's where they were kind of locking in with that. So let's keep moving through and see where he's going with this, because he's going to land in a really interesting place. Guys got to pay attention and stay tuned to this, because he really gets into the nitty gritty here, and I want you guys to see kind of where we go with this.
Let's introduce Francisco Partners, a massive private equity firm that.
So Francisco Partners is a different company from the company that acquired them in 2017. Yep. This is a whole new company, and this is a private brand that basically just owns a bunch of it's a brand of houses. You know what I mean? They got a ton of like just random stuff that they own. And so this company is a private company that really has no skin in the game in the audio industry. And so Native Instruments comes in trying to pander and sell to this company. So let's kind of see what happens.
LastPass, Eventbrite, ZocDoc, GoodRx, Corsair, and lots of other things. By the way, this is kind of weird to suss out, but Francisco Partners, as a company, is really interested and passionate about sea turtles, so much that they've moved part of their business to the Cayman Islands. That's how obsessed they are with sea turtles. Or tax evasion, I suppose that's another possibility. Anyway, I can only imagine what was on this pitch deck, but they see this package and read these numbers, and Francisco Partners decided that they would like to own Native Instruments. And while they've worked extremely hard to bury this number, including everything from refusing to disclose investments to the SEC to seemingly not even filing at all with the UK, which you might want to get on, they formed yet another subsidiary called Music Creation Group, and Music Creation Group pays close to 773 million euros, an additional goodwill for Native Instruments, Isotope, Plugin Alliance, Brainworks, and Soundstacks, which wasn't even a registered business at the time. Rumor has it.
So they went from $50 million valuation in 2017 and they got in there with Brainworks and all of the other companies, but they got acquired in that bunch for the tune by Francisco Partners for the tune of 700 million and some change on sound like almost $1 billion deal that went down between all of this whole Soundwide thing that we had going on, this alliance that we saw pop up like last year, just popped up out of nowhere. And you was like, oh, okay, Brainworks, Plugin Alliance, it's just like we're all merging and we're becoming Soundwide. You know what I mean? This is a new thing. This is what we're doing. And they just popped up out of nowhere. But that whole deal, when we saw that happen, that was almost $1 billion deal that happened in the music industry. So that's kind of interesting, right? Yeah, very interesting.
Has it that Native Instruments alone sold for close to $500 million. Just
hold on, I got to get my sound effect for that. 500 million.
So out of that whole group, Native still was the top.
They were the winner. They were the clear winner in that. And even then, they still so they went from $50 million to $500 million. That's like a 100% increase on the price that they went up. That's kind of crazy.
9 months later, Francisco Partners investments will have depreciated by 105 million euros. Even after claiming a revenue of 130 million euros, the consolidated net loss would be 87 million euros. There also appears to be an outstanding loan debt of 250 million. Oh yeah, and Soundwide wasn't ever really a thing outside of press releases and marketing. As of this month, it has been retired, and now all of the companies will be bundled under Native Instruments. Their new logo is kinda not that good, and apparently whoever is doing their artwork doesn't know what a piano keypad looks like.
Bruh, like, I ain't even gonna hold you. Let me bag it up again. Where is this at? This let's get to this logo. This logo,
Kia.
Native Instruments. Their new logo is kinda not that good.
What is that?
It's the Kia logo. It's the same designer. Gotta be.
Yeah. Like what? Who thought that was? What is that? It's like a melted L, like the L.
It's
like,
not.
What
good.
is that?
It's not.
It does
good.
look like the Kia logo.
I actually said the Kia thing on Native Instruments post, and
Really?
it's been liked a bunch of times because it's just like, yo, as soon as I saw it, that was the first thing that popped in my mind, like Kia.
Right. Like, what are we doing out here, bro? Like, this is crazy. So, but they lost. So they even since they bought it, they've depreciated all of that jumble that he threw in there. We're watching at 1.25, you know, because we want to get through this video, but also so we don't want to get flagged and demonetized. But yeah, he goes through and shows those numbers, like they're depreciating the asset already $100 million. So this isn't really, and he talked about the whole Sea Turtles thing. So this really isn't like this really wasn't like a cash grab. They didn't buy Native Instruments to have, and all of these companies to have some sort of, you know, big alliance and really make the companies better. They brought it to kind of, because they knew it was an unprofitable company, or it wasn't as profitable as what they said it was. And they could pad the numbers and build it out and then depreciate it, as he said, up to $100 million. It's just a numbers game that they're running. It's kind of interesting when you start listening to all of this stuff.
Group pays close to 773 million euros in additional goodwill for Native Instruments, Isotope, Plugin Alliance, Brainworks, and SoundStax, which wasn't even a registered business at the time. Rumor has it that Native Instruments alone sold for close to $500 million. Just 9 months later, Francisco Partners investments will have depreciated by 105 million euros. Even after claiming a revenue of 130 million euros, the consolidated net loss would be 87 million euros. There also appears to be an outstanding loan debt of 250 million. Oh yeah, and Soundwide wasn't ever really a thing outside of press releases and marketing. As of this month, it has been retired, and now all of the companies will be bundled under Native Instruments. Their new logo is kinda not that good, and apparently whoever is doing their artwork doesn't know what a piano keypad looks like. I see a lot of bundling and cost cutting. I'm assuming that Francisco Partners wants to do what they do, rebundle and combine things they own and exit with a profit. That's obviously not going to happen, but they will acquire a few more things to stir the pot. So Spitfire has recently laid off some staff, and allegedly Christian Henson has split up some of the staff between London and Edinburgh. There's some other stuff I'm not going to mention publicly. It's just my opinion, but it looks to me like Native Instruments may acquire Spitfire and then bundle the IP into a subscription. This would
I could see that. Spitfire has been around for again. I could see a merger between Spitfire and Native Instruments. I could see the synergy there, and I don't think that would be a bad deal. But like I don't know, and they're still trying to push into the subscription thing. I don't know how that's gonna land though. We're gonna see what happens with that.
Lead to more layoffs, but they would probably keep a skeleton crew around to hold up the illusion of potential growth. I'm sure there is a whole bunch that I don't know, but I personally think that this would be a terrible move that at best would be correcting a mistake by doing the exact same thing that caused it, but multiplied by obsolescence. On one hand, the last video I did was on the Osmos, which is entirely built on physical modeling and uses no samples at all. It is capable of sounding more natural than samples due to the organic articulation. On the other hand, we already have a half dozen AI engines that can generate music or samples via a text prompt. Buying a company that solely made a bunch of resource-intensive samples for a legacy sampler in 2023 only to try and exit that investment when AI and dataset articulation is more accessible to musicians would be, well, you know what, you do you. I do think that there is one pretty clear move that Francisco Partners can do to exit their Native Instruments investment with a gain within 3 to 5 years, and I'm not telling anybody what that is unless I'm getting points.
That's funny.
You's a hoe, I'm an entrepreneur, and he's a drug dealer.
That they've kind of got that moving on with that, but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see. So let me see if I can get over here to gotta skip over here. What was the next one? Akai. Okay, yeah, this whole Moog situation. So let's get in here and look at this. So this is the whole brand music Moog situation.
Weekly live stream, and news like this in the audio world before it's announced, when you're streaming, feels like you're hanging out with a good friend and you know that their partner is having an affair with somebody else, but you cannot say a word about it. But InMusic, the owner of Akai, who makes the infamous MPC sampling drum machines, has bought Moog synthesizers. I'm honestly not that surprised, and I'm also not as bummed out as a lot of people are, because Moog, while I love their products, have always seemingly been in some form of turmoil. To me, it seems like Moog has always enjoyed this public aura of being run like a hippie collective and using that to justify their high prices, while kind of actually being run by a hippie collective conservative, except that 51% of all meaningful decisions were made by the actual owner, Mike Adams. They also enjoyed a Made in USA aura, which was really just local assembly in their Asheville, North Carolina facility, which a lot, if not the majority of pedal and modular companies already do for quality control. And then in complete contrast to that, you have a really disorganized and chaotic labor union battle with workers making overpriced synths for $14 an hour combined with a chip shortage. Then in the last couple of years, a sexual harassment and civil rights lawsuit, which I'm not even going to share an opinion about that, but I did find that the plaintiff's lawyer was previously suspended for some financial fuckery. I also found out that there's a newspaper called North Carolina Lawyers Weekly, which brings us to InMusic, a private company owned by Jack O'Donnell that, at least online and in hearsay, doesn't have a very good reputation for what it does to the brands that it acquires. A lot of people consider it to be where brands go to die. I don't know. We got Akai, M-Audio, Denon, Alesis, Headrush, some grow, some die. It's not the best batting average, but in general, InMusic support and QA and
So
music, a private
InMusic, again, this is what we was talking about earlier. This is like a lot. Let me zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see all these logos. These are all of the companies that are owned by one brand, in brand music. They own Air, Akai, Alesis. So when you see that Alesis MIDI, I did a video with this on my regular channel, and when you see those Alesis MIDI controllers and you look at them and you see that kind of looks like that M audio controller, and then you play it and it's like, it kind of feels like this M audio controller as well. That's why they're all made by the same company. So there's really no real this versus that, especially when it comes to like Akai, Alesis, and M audio. They're pretty much like all like the same company, so to speak. So that's something to definitely dig in and think about on that side.
Owned by Jack O'Donnell that, at least online and in hearsay, doesn't have a very good reputation for what it does to the brands that it acquires. A lot of people consider it to be where brands go to die. I don't know. We got Akai, M-Audio, Denon, Alesis, Headrush, some grow, some die. It's not the best batting average, but in general, InMusic support and QA and developers are kind of fragmented globally, with a lot of them being outsourced, which is a far stretch from the hippie collective vibes that Moog had. It would be safe to assume that one of the reasons that InMusic has a questionable reputation to musicians and especially MPC users is because Jack O'Donnell allegedly refused to pay royalties to Roger Lynn, the original creator of the MPC.
So that's pretty much them. And then let's jump over here and look at what was it? Image Line.
It is an intentional sale, not one that would just exist for the purpose of exiting the investment in a few years. A lot of power in that case. From sources and citations seemingly unknown, news broke that Avid, the owner of Pro Tools and Media Composer and Sibelius, was exploring the idea of being sold. I'm probably in the minority here, but I think that Avid still exists in its current form solely because they are a publicly traded company, and I think they're the only publicly traded company in this space. Through various sources of data, I can guesstimate that Pro Tools represents a quickly shrinking 9% of overall primary music production software licenses. I think, or I hope, that the management and controlling interests in
So wait a minute. So what do you feel about that? I know you Pro Tools till you die. My man said that Pro Tools, based on his research, he said Pro Tools represents about, they said 9% of music licenses out there.
I mean, that's not a far-fetched number. I'll take that, because we also have to keep in mind how small the music industry is in the grand scheme of things. Because even when you look at Apple, when everybody talk about Apple don't worry about music, it's because we're not their target customers. Like, we're such a small facet of the entire world that the companies this large aren't going to be focused only on musicians. Like, because if they only focus on musicians, they're not going to make no money. Like, because we're not dropping money like that. So it's definitely not far-fetched. And I mean, from a music production standpoint, Pro Tools is not the king when it comes to just the production side of music. Now we talk about mixing in the studios and recording stuff. Okay, now the conversation changes a little bit. And we know major studios are closing left and right. So that's the thing as well. So
I think it's more so, like you said, the fact that a lot of these where they really make their money is post for film and video and all of that. I mean, media composer. We've lumped in
S6
our
is $100K easy for S6, and there's facilities dropping in 3, 4, 5 of them things. So
every year, man. And so we take for granted in our little small niche of music production and as music producers and engineers that when we hear Avid, we just think Pro Tools. Like, that's literally all we think in our little niche and in our little space. We don't even consider the fact that they got a whole nother set of businesses that they, you know, or products and things that they make, from their hardware to their to even some of
Storage,
the.
like they have a whole line of storage that people don't know about, the Nexus servers.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. See, I didn't even know about that. See, you just educated me on that. I had no clue, you know what I mean, in that particular area. So it's kind of interesting to think about, like, you know, the fact that they only represent, in terms of music licenses that's out there, in terms of a
Hmm.
DAW, they only have about 9% market share for the most part
Yeah,
on.
another side people don't know about with Avid is news. There's a whole nother side that they do a lot of
Hmm,
news stuff. So a lot of their server stuff and video for when you watching Channel 2 News or whatever your
yeah,
local news station, they might be running a whole Avid news system over there.
interesting. Interesting. See, I never knew that. But they're also a publicly traded company as well, and a lot of people don't know that they're. I have stock in Avid
Me
or
too. Me
Avid.
too. I got
Sorry,
some
I
Avid
keep
stock.
messing.
Yes.
I got Avid stock. I'm gonna mess that country pop out every now and again, man. I try to remember that it's Avid. I try to remember that it's that, and it just comes out like Avid all the time. Y'all bless me. So if I'm probably gonna say it again in this stream, probably gonna say Avid again. So if I say Avid, y'all know I mean Avid. That's what I really mean. But you know, I think about Avid like a video, a video. a video that we are doing. I'm gonna try to fit, but it's Avid, y'all. Please forgive me. It's not Avid, it's Avid. So charge it to my head and not to my heart, as we say in the Baptist church. But no, so yeah, this is really interesting. Let's keep. I think this video is really interesting. That's why I wanted to share it with you guys, because he drops a lot of stuff in this that I didn't even know and I didn't even recognize was a thing that was going on behind the scenes, because we're in our world, we're doing music, we're making music, and what's happening over our heads literally is these companies are selling out to these public companies, and these companies that we know are selling out to private equity companies or private venture capitalist companies that are buying these out, and basically they're changing hands multiple times. You don't see, like, for instance, what was it, Pro Tools, not Pro Tools, Studio One or Personas was just bought out by Fender. So
Hmm.
you don't see those acquisitions happening that often, like music companies buying other music companies for a mutual combination. And you know what I mean? Like when I saw the whole Native Instruments, you know, plugin alliance isotope thing happen, I thought, I didn't know it was a private company that was buying it, like a private company that had nothing to do with music. You know, they had nothing to do with music. They're just like padding their portfolio worth of companies, and whoever owned Native Instruments at that point in time, the previous owners that bought it in 2017, they're just trying to get out. They're trying to make
Yeah,
their
I mean
exit.
that thing, like he said, it was more of a marketing thing than anything, but it was a smart play, because
Yeah,
had they came out and said we've been bought by a private equity firm, like the whole industry would have been like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
yeah.
So it was a smart play to do the whole Soundwide thing
Hmm.
and make it seem like a conglomerate, to let
Like
it
it was a
settle
collective.
in.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they literally sold us a bill of goods while they're working on the other side to really sell it. So they did a hundred, like, so for the people on the other side, from a business standpoint, they did really good. They came out, they bought it. The first company bought it in 2017, paid 50 million for it when they bought it. And then they gave it 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21 is when I think that out. So they gave it 5 years and they made an exit at 500 million. It's actually brilliant on the business side how they did it, but they padded it out with using subscriptions, using all of those things like that. So it's really, really interesting to look at how this stuff is working, because we always focus on the music and focus on the products and focus on the plugins, and we're talking about why did Waves go to subscription, why did they doing this, why does this cost this, why does that happen? And there's a part in this video that, if you guys stay tuned, we're going to get to in just a second. I think it's coming up in just a second, where we're talking about Avid here and why they're selling, and also Waves, because Waves it's something in the wind. I don't know. He doesn't really go into it in this video, but it's something in the wind about Waves, and I want you guys to hear his take on that. But it's really, really dope. Let's keep moving through it and see what we got here. This is interesting.
Avid see where things are headed, and this is an entirely baseless accusation. Avid still exists in its current form solely because they are a publicly traded company, and I think they're the only publicly traded company in this space. Through various sources of data, I can guesstimate that Pro Tools represents a quickly shrinking 9% of overall primary music production software licenses. I think, or I hope, that the management and controlling interests in Avid see where things are headed, and this is an entirely baseless accusation and opinion, but I also think that they leaked a rumor to rescue their stock before it collapsed entirely, as they had lost close to 40% of their value in about 2 weeks. My hot take prediction is that nobody in their right mind is going to buy Avid for anywhere close to their market valuation, which I believe currently sits around $1 billion. My unsolicited
$1 billion. Avid is worth $1 billion. That's dope.
advice for Avid would be to maybe push a small maintenance update where if you click in the help menu, there is a little bit of text that says Elon Musk is gay, and then publicly say that you will never sell the company to Elon Musk, and by the end of that workday, he will probably acquire the company for twice the value.
Yeah, this dude is hilarious. He is hilarious. All right, Image Line, UVI, Melda Productions.
Image Line, the company that makes FL Studio, aka Fruity Loops, has acquired UVI and Melda Productions. This one wasn't exactly predictable, but on paper, it's not all that surprising. As far as I know, both UVI and Melda were balancing their books just fine. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Image Line is an extremely profitable company. They have a huge market lead and a fraction of the overhead and employee headcount that their competitors have. It seems like they're just buying small companies that have growth potential as a strategy to hedge inflation, which is actually a pretty good thing for musicians. It keeps industry money in the industry, and if UVI or Melda ran into a rough patch, they'd now have a pretty hefty lifeboat. My baseless
That's what I was saying. Like I like to see companies like that, like Image Line, a music company acquiring a music company, because as a person that is using that, like did I want to see Persona sell the Fender? Did I think that made sense? Not really. Like in the initial kind of like jump of it, it was like, why is the guitar company buying the dog company? But okay, well, they got a lot of hardware, but why does that make sense? And then I think it was another big one, music company buying music. What was it? Roland bought DW last year.
Yeah.
I think it was. And that was really dope to see. But, we'll see. And that makes sense because Roland does have their V drums and their all of those stuff like that. So that made sense. It remains to be seen what's going to happen with this whole Image Line UVI. I'm really interested. Like I'm really keeping my eye on that. I don't know much about Melda Productions. Not sure what I haven't really explored in that. I'm just
They got some
keeping
cool
it on.
plugins. They're one of those kind of smaller boutique, if you will, plugin companies that flies under the radar.
Interesting. Yeah, I never used any of their stuff, so I can't really comment on using it because I never really messed around with it. But I think it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be cool to see, especially UVI. I got skin in the game with UVI. I've been using their stuff for quite a minute. So I'm excited to see what they plan to do with that. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
baseless prediction that nobody asked for. Both UVI and Melda have a subscription option. UVI is mostly sample-based with the exception of the hugely powerful Falcon and then some of the other plugins. Melda is almost entirely effects, and really good ones at that. I think the two bundled together in something like Sonic Pass would be a no-brainer. I do not see FL Studio becoming a subscription thing or becoming part of that bundle though, nor do I see the instruments getting integrated into FL Studio or part of FL Studio, at least anytime soon. If there's one thing to complain about with FL Studio, it's that there's already so much going on with the DAW itself that it could be overwhelming for new musicians or people transitioning from a more minimal interface. I tried to find some SEC filings. I looked at CapIQ and Bloomberg, and like everybody else, Providence Equity did not want to disclose the sale price. I think I did manage to eventually find the number, but it is not entirely public information. I've seen a lot of people complain about this buyout. My take is that it's just probably a major advantage to Chuck Surak, Sweetwater's previous owner. Either he just wanted to retire and relax, or he saw the writing on the wall, and that writing is that American retailers in particular up prices by quite a lot, and with MAP policies, this means that if I make a pedal, I have to sell it for the same price that Sweetwater would mark it up to. Chase Bliss pedals dumped retailers entirely.
Yeah, Sweetwater was really cool. I can see that. It's that's retail though. That's a little bit different. I mean, it still affects our industry, but in the grand scheme, it's just that. Well, let me skip over here.
Yeah, I
Tim
mean, the
did
thing
with the
about
Push
Sweetwater,
3.
you know, it's only one location, and then of course they do have the Sweetwater Studios, which is actually a functioning studio
Yeah.
that can be booked out. But yeah, I could see Sweetwater going away. I could see
Really?
that. Yeah, I could
I
definitely
think
see
they're
that.
all going to go away. All retailers are going to, if they don't change within the next like few years, I think they're all going to kind of go the way of the dinosaur because of what Amazon is doing. And I think Amazon has, I mean, me and you was talking about this the other day, like how you order something and it's there sometimes same day. And it's like, I mean, dang, like, so
Yeah, I mean,
unless,
I think I'm pretty. It's almost 3 o'clock. I think if I ordered like a Samsung SSD right
oh,
now,
you
I
have it
could
by any
probably
day.
have it by tonight.
You have about a night. That's how they get you. Like, I mean, unless these companies, all of them, and we're not just talking about music based companies, because you still got Zounds, you got American Musical, you got if you're from my overseas cats, you got what's that big one? Toman,
Toman, yeah, Toman or
Toman,
whatever. Yeah, mm-hmm.
you know, you got all of those big companies and stuff, and unless they can all figure out the shipping game really strong in the next few years, they're gonna go the way to, because Amazon is quickly, it's like you can buy everything on Amazon. You can buy all of your, like, I got something coming in from Amazon, seemed like just about every day, especially this week because I'm getting ready for some stuff. But it's like, yeah, like if I'm ordering the key, like Amazon normally becomes like the first thing that I go to when I'm looking to buy just about anything. You know what I mean? Because you can order just about anything, you can get it like that. And so I kind of get what you're saying on that. I think we're gonna definitely,
I think Sam Ash, Ken Stanton, Guitar Center, you know, even though people think they're gonna go, I think those will last a little longer just because there are times where you just need something now. Like I need to walk in and buy
yeah,
some drumsticks, or I need to buy a drum head or guitar strings, or you know, whatever it is. Like
yeah,
so the stores that have that capability, they still have a little bit of a leg on even Amazon because of the immediacy of being able to walk in the
yeah,
store and get something you need like right now, like gaff tape. If I
yeah,
need some gaff tape for a gig,
yeah.
where I'm gonna go to get some gaff tape?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's facts. But now but Guitar Center is closing them left and right. You know what I mean? I've been seeing a lot of the Guitar Centers go down. So
But then they'll reopen another one like that's close by to where that one closed down. So it's
yeah,
still not like they're completely gone away. It's just more like making a better location,
better
if you will.
location. I could see it, you know. I could see it. Retail remains to be seen. It's the, you know, I think it's going to be some. I think our generation will definitely keep it keep it alive as long as we can because we value that level of convenience. But as Amazon keeps pushing and tracking down the path of immediacy, like I know
Mhm.
they've been working down the path on doing drones and electric cars and all of these different things and robots to deliver packages. That's going to be a thing. Like you're going to probably be able to get something. Um, you're going to be able to get something like in 5 minutes from Amazon if they keep pushing the way that they're pushing. Like, you know, a drone going to come drop your keyboard in the backyard, you know, with a parachute. Your drumsticks gonna be put on your porch by a robot or something crazy like
Which
that.
it
So it's gonna
brings
be
up
interesting.
like some of these companies need to start looking at more smaller individual sales. Like I know like Allo headphones, a company that I work with, they allow people to sell the headphones. So like I could buy, you
Yeah,
know, X amount of headphones and then be a seller.
yeah,
I think that's gonna be crucial. You think about like even like the drums, like dope drumsticks, like something like that. He's gonna need that here really quickly to be able to have like in all your major cities. There's people that
yeah.
people can hit up and like, yo, I need, you know, some 5As, and they can get them
I
from
can
those
see that.
individuals. Like you said, otherwise you get beat out by the speed
Yeah,
of Amazon or
yeah.
whoever that can get it the fastest.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. It would be dope to see like even some sort of like company. I could see something like that popping up, like a company like almost like you're starting to see some of these companies pop up online that like pay a monthly price and you can rent your gear for their thing for unspecified amount of time for X amount per month. Having something like that for like almost like Uber for
Somebody put that in the realm. I think it was yesterday about like leasing symbols or something like that.
Yeah. I think something like that's going to arise at a point where you're going to see that, where you're going to be able to like do like almost like a peer-to-peer service, with something like that. And if somebody's interested in that, DM me, because I got some ideas how he could make that pop. I'm not going, like he said about not sharing too much information. I'm not sharing too much more information outside of that, because I do actually own some IP on some stuff that I'm thinking about, but I'm not gonna go too much more into that. If y'all interested, DM your boy and we'll talk. If you got some money, don't DM me when you're broke. DM me if you got some money. I got a couple of things up my sleeve that I'm thinking about for the foreseeable future. But we'll see what happens. Let's go in. There's a couple other little things I want to dig in with him, and then we'll interact with the chat a little bit, and then we'll get up out of here.
I feel like most retailers can at least sense some cold air, as they're the first to go when a company is having cash flow issues. I understand that some people do like their favorite retailer. I like some retailers, and I'm an affiliate partner with some of them. But I'm not sure what kind of kinship people feel with retailers that they think would be lost with a private equity or venture capital stake. Retail is a highly competitive and expendable position.
For some reason, let me see. I need to see here. It will not let me fast forward. I mean, maybe I need to refresh the page. Let's see, we had 15, we had 16:30. Let me refresh the page. For whatever reason, it won't let me. I got this. It still won't let me do it. Well, anyway, we'll keep moving.
And I'm an affiliate partner with some of them. But I'm not sure what kind of kinship people feel with retailers that they think would be lost with a private equity or venture capital stake. Retail is a highly competitive and expendable position. If they all of a sudden start being terrible to deal with, then order from another retailer. All right, baseless prediction time. I think that Sweetwater will eventually get bundled with another large specialty retailer and then rebranded and sold. I think that if Providence Equity holds on to the brand for more than a few years, it'll lose money on exit, because giant companies like InMusic are already experimenting with limited editions that don't ship to retailers. I don't think that they're growing their own shipping department for the lulz. I think that they're experimenting with cutting retailers out of the deal. And unless you're a storefront where people can test out gear, you're either a middleman or you're competing with Amazon.
Okay, this is where I want.
Sequential, or previously Dave Smith Instruments, sold to Focusrite. Focusrite also owns Novation, Oberheim, Martin Audio, and so on. I don't really see Focusrite as an equity salesperson, and I assume that they intend to improve on the brand's.
So how many of y'all knew, by show of hands, that Novation and all of these companies were owned by Focusrite? I did, but that's neither here nor there. They Focusrite and Novation, like they've been killing the game for a little bit, so I think they're pretty cool.
Or utilize their supply chain to make them more efficient. Probably a little weird to go from a smaller company like DSI and then have to report to a human resource department, but like I mentioned earlier, money staying within the industry is generally a good thing. Waves, Antares, and so on. I think that if a non-monopolized company, so like not Adobe or Microsoft, immediately diverts to a forced subscription model, they're trying to artificially increase their value. Most equity appraisers value subscribers at around 3 times that of a license holder. It used to be much more than this. So a couple months ago when Waves announced.
Okay, so something here real quick. This is what I wanted to kind of get to with that. So he says that his perspective, this isn't like a, truth. There's nothing pointing to it, but he's basically saying that like Waves, the whole debacle they went through a few months ago when they increased the subscription, went to subscriptions, like killed off their entire sales thing. They killed it off because they're trying to artificially inflate their valuation, because as he just said, a subscriber is valued much more, or 2 to 3x, than a actual customer is, because they see subscribers as a recurring thing. There's things called long-term value, LTV, or of a customer. Your LTV of your customer, how long a customer stays in the system and how much that they're expected to buy. It happens with our iPhones. It happens with Apple's on this whole game. They know if they sell you an iPhone, then the probability of you buying an iPad is high. The probability of you buying a MacBook is higher. The probability of you buying an Apple Watch is higher. The probability of you subscribing to Apple Music, subscribing to Apple TV, doing all of these different things are higher because...
Bro, get out my room, man. What are you... Get out my room. You literally name it all. Like, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I got all of those things in this room.
No, bro. Like, I'm in my own room. I have, okay, so everybody in the house is on an iPhone. Everybody in the house, my wife has Apple Watch. I got Apple Watch. We got 3 or 4 iPads. Yeah, man, it's just the game of the game. Team iPhone out here, Team Apple. There's... He said, I got 2 iPhones. Now, I don't got 2 iPhones. I got 1 iPhone. And then you got, I'm
looking at 3 iPads. There's 3 iPads right here.
We got 3 iPads in the house. I have 3 iMacs in the house. Yeah, 3 iMacs in the house. We got 3 iMacs in the house. We got 2 Apple TVs. We got all this stuff, man. It's like, it's just...
I gotta reevaluate my portfolio. I got more Avid stock than Apple.
Right. I need to get some more Apple stock. I do have stock in Apple. So it's just something to think about, man. Like, so they know that when they get you in their ecosystem, that they can sell you and upsell you and get you keeping in, just like we were just talking about before with Black Magic. You know, like, it's like a slippery slope. Like, I bought a Black Magic camera last year. What you're looking at me on is a Black Magic camera. What you're looking at Dale on is a Black Magic camera. If y'all want to know what kind of cameras we use, is Black Magic. And it's something about the reason why they call it Black Magic, because now I currently own 4 Black Magic cameras, you know? So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, once you get into the ecosystem, it's a slippery slope, and it keeps pulling you down into it, and you keep buying more. So, like, he's saying that you basically, as you start going down the path of subscriptions, they're inflating their numbers so that they can be able to sell off all of that. So let's keep moving down this, keep seeing what he's saying, because this is very interesting stuff.
Announced their forced subscription model. My subjective opinion was that they were priming themselves for a buyout offer. And obviously that blew up in their face, and it became apparent that they could actually lose over 2/3 of their customers, which would devalue them, so they backpedaled. But if there are any software companies watching this considering going to the forced subscription model, I have some unsolicited advice. These VC appraisal phenomena existed in parity with low interest rates. They also existed alongside subscription things like Spotify and MoviePass, which have lost a lot of money. I would at least entertain the possibility that the overvalued subscriber rule is something that appraisers are still using, but investors are not. My boldest prediction that will definitely affect the pro audio world, but goes way outside of the pro audio world, is Apple layoffs for the first time since 1997. And I know I sound crazy, but I think that it's a result of a combination of a lot of things. The pandemic just led to this weird tech adoption bubble that was coupled with chip shortages and supply chain issues, right as blitzscaling strategies were not panning out, combined with interest rates and a bear market that will probably be deflating the share prices. It's worth mentioning, almost to the point where discrediting my own opinion in my own head, I really, really hope that I'm wrong. As far as pro audio is concerned, when I try to remove myself from this space and look at it from a purely economic standpoint, legacy products have a life cycle, and there's no reason to believe that their parent companies or inventors aren't tethered to those life cycles if they're not keeping up with R&D. For example, Native Instruments software is iconic, and I owe them not only respect but gratitude, because it's inspired me to make a lot of things throughout my career. But the last iconic product they released was, I guess some people would say Machine, but really it's probably FM8 or Guitar Rig, and that's what, 2004? The same goes with Waves plugins, Antares, the makers of Auto-Tune, Pro Tools, who are all actively still developing new things, but all of these things have dozens, if not hundreds, of competitors. The name is iconic, the product is nostalgic, the value of the brands are probably inflated. Oh yeah, and this isn't really in the pro audio space, but it is related. Epic Games buying Bandcamp. That was a surprising one, and I actually was a consultant a long time ago for Bandcamp before they went live, and it's been a little disappointing to see Bandcamp outgrow their roots, but that's just what growth does. And like I probably already mentioned, I don't really mind external money coming into the music world if it's not buying and controlling.
That's interesting. Like, so Epic Games, if y'all don't know what Epic Games is, and you got to know what Epic Games is at this point in time.
They know. They play games all the time. They know.
Come on.
They know what Epic Games is.
Fortnite, this whole company that owns this, they bought Bandcamp which is Bandcamp is that space where that those indie artists would go and still go.
MySpace for musicians.
It was MySpace for musicians. Like they bought Bandcamp. So I'm wondering what integration or what that is going to, because it's a gaming company that bought basically a music platform of music audio selling distribution. That's the word I was looking for. Music distribution platform. So that's very surprising to me. Very surprising to me to see something like that kind of pop off, and very interested. So I'm interested to see what Epic Games is going to do with Bandcamp. Maybe they're going to allow because I know they're very much into like the digital, kind of what do they call it? Market where you have like all of the it's the name escapes me, but the digital products, like when you got virtual.
Well, they have like you can download the games, from directly.
Well, no, like the
Epic's game
digital
launcher.
collectibles. Yeah, basically like digital collectibles and stuff like that you can buy Jordans.
Oh, the NFTs.
NFTs. That's the word. I could not find it in my brain at the set. They're into that, so maybe they're gonna do something digital with music NFTs or something. It's gonna be interesting to see.
I can see that.
That's kind of interesting. It's almost as interesting as like so, and we have to talk about this on a whole nother pod. Spotify buying what's the name of the company? But they got a DAW. Like Spotify has a DAW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many of y'all knew Spotify has a DAW, like a whole freaking DAW? You know what I'm saying? Like a music production software that Spotify has. Go look it up. It'll blow your mind. Like I was like, they got a DAW, and then they own Sound Better too. So Spotify's been on the whole. They're planning something really big. I don't know what they're planning, but they're putting together something.
They just rose the price. The price went up $2.
Yeah.
Wow. Just like yesterday. I got the email yesterday. Yeah. Wow. The Spotify price just went up.
Dang. That's nuts. So
they're not paying us no more money. We're not getting no more.
Yeah.
But they making some more.
Exactly. They're making $100 million purchases over here, but then they're not paying. They're still paying artists 0.000. Spotify is no longer a music company. I think we got to kind of get to a point.
They never were. They never were.
Yeah. They got out of the music game a long time ago, and they're really trying to compete at a different level now with all of the acquisitions that they've been doing over the last name. But yes, Spotify, let me put that up. Yep, Spotify, where is it at? I just saw it. Spotify has a DAW. Let me find it. Well, yeah, Spotify has a whole...
Yeah, I made a reel about it weeks ago.
Yeah, they have a DAW, bro. Like, yeah, here it is. Hold on, I got you queued up here, bro. It's called Soundtrap.
Yeah, I remember somebody commented and said, yeah, trap is right.
Yeah. Soundtrap, bro. Like they have a whole DAW Soundtrap originals out here, bro. Like it's a collaboratory, so it's kind of like the same vibes as
and it works on. It's all mobile based, so you can even use it on your phone.
Yeah, they own those Session Wire vibes. Like it's on that same energy that Session Wire is on, collaborating. Yeah, Spotify has a DAW, like with virtual instruments and everything. Like Spotify is planning something huge. I don't know what they're planning, but it's gonna be interesting to see where they kind of land in this particular area. So yeah, they got a whole DAW out here, Reverend, a whole DAW. So yeah, they've been in the game for a minute doing different things. So it's really interesting to see what where this is gonna go. And my man Murray, let's get into some of the comments and stuff. We just been kind of going through this video. He says, the more I study business, the more I see a trend of acquisition in every industry. If you don't grow, you die. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Murray, man. Like I see it all the time. Like it's just becoming a thing. I think because the world is kind of consolidating down as well. And so companies kind of see the writing on the wall that people, they're loyal to one brand or the other. So you even seeing like, what was it that big? Didn't T-Mobile? I don't know if they blocked it. I know T-Mobile was trying to merge with Sprint for a minute. I don't know if that went. Did that
Yeah,
deal
there
go
was a
through?
whole situation where it
I think
started
the
looking
FCC
like
blocked
it
that.
was yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that
But
went
you're
through or
trying to
not.
see, you're starting to see that kind of stuff pop up all the time, man. You have
But I mean, when you
Spotify
think about it,
as a
though, I
DAW.
mean, I've heard this, like, like he said, like as we learn more about business and really start digging into business, a lot of times when you really go into business, you're either building it to scale to a certain
Yeah,
place, or usually it's to sell. Like you're trying to build a business big enough to sell. Like you want to
yeah,
cash out.
yeah. I mean, and to the point, yeah. Most CEOs they want a retirement plan. They want an exit strategy. They build something with the end in mind, because especially if it's in the tech world, like they build with that in mind, that like at some point we're going to sell this, and some point I'm going to walk away from it with a bag. You know what I'm saying? And so you see it happen all the freaking time, and I think that's a thing, man. Yep, sound trap. That's what they call it. It's a trap. Sound trap. They know they better to be with that name. Yeah, they trapping out here,
I
bro.
wonder if they're running that in their studios, because I know Spotify built studios. I wonder if they're
Yeah,
running that DAW in their studios.
that would be funny. That would be funny to know. Uh, he says they are rich, so they will be able to maintain their dog. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, the Sprint and T-Mobile merger went through. Okay, yeah. I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. I think I remember that was a big thing a few years ago. And so, yeah, like mergers is just a thing, and acquisitions is just a thing. And like I said, Spotify has like merged, like not merged, but like bought like a ton of
Acquired.
companies. And I think we got to do like a whole.
We have yeah, I got the screenshot right here.
You got the screenshot
Yep.
of
Yeah, it's in our it's in the ideas note. If you look at the note.
Oh, hold on 1 second. We'll pull that up. Let me pull that up then. Hold on. In the ideas, I'm gonna pull that up real quick. Podcast. Let's pull that up. Okay, podcast. Oh yeah. Secret. I see it. Let's see if I can get this up on the screen where it makes sense. So we'll like I said, we'll have to dig with this on a specific
Yeah,
pod.
we got deep dive. We got to do a little research and
Yeah, we're going to do a
really dive
research.
into
But
it.
these are some of the recent ones
And then
out
right,
here.
that's the recent ones, and then it's plus 22 more.
Oh, yeah, plus 22 more. Look at this. Like, look at what they paying for some of this stuff, though. They bought, in 2015, they bought a company called Megaphone for $235 million. They paid $196 million for the Ringer. Like, companies that nobody's even heard of. Like, I never heard. Now, Anchor, yes. But $154 million? Like, look at this, $123 million, $55 million. Like, undisclosed. Like they out here spending money. Like Spotify is planning something, and like I said, I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna get on the deep dive and do some extreme research on this, and we just gonna have to do a pod that is just on what Spotify is working on, because it's really interesting to see them do all of these acquisitions, and it's something strategic about it. And the fact that they have all of these varying pieces, a DAW, a company that's like basically like Fiverr. Sound Better is basically like Fiverr, Air Gigs. It's in that same,
Engineers.
yeah, it's in that same space of you hiring, people on the net to do various things or what have you. So it's very interesting to see how that goes or what have you. Building the sale also brings to mind artists selling their music portfolio with the way streaming. Yeah, I saw that. Wasn't it? What was it? Who was it? Lil Wayne that sold his
I
recently
mean, it's a bunch
sold.
of people. He's probably the most recent that people would know, but yeah, it's been a bunch, like
Yeah,
big
it's been a
big
lot of them
names
selling their catalog.
selling catalogs.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolute nuts, man. Like what's going on here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this next world kind of plays out, over the next few years. Yeah, my baby sister, she came in. She said, yeah, the way way that they went up on the subscription. Because yeah, they went out on the subscription. Went up on the subscription for Spotify. But yeah, so yeah, it's been really cool. I just thought we ran across that. My man Marcus sent me that video. I think we're gonna close out for the day anyway. It's been fun hanging out. Let me bring my music back in. Let's see, get the music back in here. Let's see. I can get it back in. It won't play. Okay, whatever. Music won't play, bro. Like I don't know what happened. Got the volume turned up on it. It just is it playing now? Well, if it comes in, it comes in. Yeah, with all of this, I saw that video. I thought it was interesting, something that we can talk about on the Hangout. I thought it'd be something to kind of pull in and really talk about. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. But yeah, we thought it was really dope to kind of come in and talk about, and we got some other comments commentary that we want to throw in on some other stuff that we've been kind of exploring that we think will be really, really cool. That'll be really, really cool as we go. A couple more things I think I just saw come in, and then we'll get up out of here. It says Spotify, curious to what all this will be. Yeah, with the end of all of this. Yep, and then Sean says, do you think there will be a huge merge of all of these companies? I think it remains to be seen. I think in a big grand scheme of things, we'll still see companies, be individual as much, but I don't see like Apple or something.
It's gonna get down to just like the music industry where you really only have 3 companies that
I could see that
own pretty much everything.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that becoming a thing. But hopefully those 3 companies will be like music-based companies. Like it won't be like Francisco.
I don't think there's anybody big enough to do it though.
Yeah.
That's on the music side.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I think that's true. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. You know how we do. My music won't play today, so I can't rock y'all on the way out. But it's been fun and it's been cool hanging out. We're gonna do some more topics like this where we sit down and actually discuss some things. That's what the Hangout is. This is informal. This is not planned. I ain't got no outline. I ain't got no notes in front of me. We just like to come in, pop in. Me and Dale have these conversations on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, me and Jan and Mavon, other people that you see on the pod, we have these conversations on the constant, and I think it's just cool to kind of open up the door and just kind of let you guys watch us talk about stuff, right? It's kind of funny, but I think it's cool, and I look forward to hanging out with you guys again. We jumped in a little bit early this week. Normally we do these on Wednesdays. That's the normal time, Wednesdays at noon, but I kind of got something popping this week, so I decided to jump on and get this out the way today and have a good conversation. And it's been fun. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, all of those things like that. Make sure you check out some of the other videos we got on the channel. We got other episodes of the pod with a lot of really dope conversations that we have like this all the time. If you're watching on Facebook and some of the other platforms, make sure you tap that like button and hit that share button and sharing, because sharing is caring. And we really care that you share. All right. Outside of that, we're done. We're going to talk to you guys on the next one. We out. Peace.